Hey everyone, this is a little overview of the assets that you have for your next platform and project. So I gave you this little scene here. If you open up your the project I gave you, you can go under the physics platformer kit, and under scenes you can open up the 2D demo scene, and that'll get you this. And let's just kind of play through it first. I'll kind of explain things as we go, and then tell you some other stuff you can do. So your goal is going to be to make a platformer out of the things I give you here. Basically, whatever you have in the scene is what you can use. Don't make new stuff. Don't script anything else. Just whatever you have, make it with that. So I'm using the controller to move, but you can use the keyboard as well. So the controller works perfectly fine. It's A to jump, and left and right to move. You have little cubes you can collect. So place cubes in your level. So I have to collect them. On the top left here, you'll see there's like how many cubes I have in the level, how many I've collected. So make sure I can get them all. So you have a regular jump, and you also have a double jump. If you jump in the air, you can double jump. I didn't make this character. He's ugly as butt, but he works. So the ramps actually will work a little bit. You'll slide a little bit on them. There's moving platforms. If you jump on them, you'll stick to them. There's a little bit of physics too, so your character can kind of slide off. You can set up platforms however you like. There's also these red cubes here with a script on them. They will damage you, and if you take enough health, you will die and respawn at the last spawn point. If you jump in them, you can go really high. There's these spawn points here. They will respawn you here if you die, so place them accordingly in your levels. You can pick up little objects and throw them. You can also grab bigger objects and then move them, and then you can stack stuff. So nice little option for making some puzzles. You can grab other objects, not just cubes. You can put it on spheres. Oh, and the physics will all react. So that other object that went flying in the water is heavy. This one is light, so it'll float. This is a water volume you guys will have. It'll make the character have really high jumps, but move a little kind of slower and sluggish. And as you see here, you got those spheres. They're floating because their weight is really light. So you guys can play around some water. You don't need to have water, but it's there if you really want to. More checkpoints. You can also use boxes as kind of push objects as well, movers as I'm calling them here. And so you could have them as cool obstacles just to nudge the player off and then die. That red volume box at the bottom has a lot more hit points that it takes off the player. I think it takes off like 100, so just like an auto kill. You have these lift zones here that'll just kind of launch the player. They're just kind of anti-gravity kind of zones, and if you jump into them, you'll get a little bit of extra height. They have trampolines as well. This is just kind of like the damage pads, but they don't damage you. If you jump on them, you'll get some higher jumps too. This is just an example of physics kind of objects. These objects are the same as the moving platforms. They're just going up and down at a much faster speed. And so you'll see they will push my character up in the air based on their speed. So this one will do it a lot more than the other one. So have some fun with physics assets. Other cool thing you can do is wait for this little platform to get here. You can grab onto platforms, and the character will go along with them. So cool little traversal kind of way. And again, because you do have physics, these are all physics assets. You can set things up so they're like that. So I want to. Oh, I guess I could get up there without that, but you can do that. And that's it. And this little elevator just takes you back to the beginning. So that's all you have. It's not, it's not a whole ton of stuff, but it's actually pretty complicated. It's pretty cool, complex mechanics. You should be able to do some pretty crazy stuff in your levels. So this example scene that I gave you is really just like the basics, like, just how stuff works. So your level should definitely get a lot more complicated than this. The beginning can be nice and simple, just to kind of teach you some mechanics, jump, die, platforms, double jump. And then your second level should introduce some new mechanics into the mix. You know, maybe some moving platforms or some you know, maybe holding on to things while they move. And then your final level should be like a challenge level where you take all the things that you've taught to the player and make them figure out a way to get through your room, collect all the cubes, and survive. So use checkpoints to make sure that your game is, you know, fair and doesn't screw over the player too much. Make sure if they fall off somewhere, they can easily get back, that they don't have to traverse the entire game world again. So I'm going to be looking at things like that, just your design skills and ideas of, you know, how to make the game fair and show good understanding of all the things we're going to talk about in class for gameplay and level design and all that kind of fun stuff. So that's pretty much it. Go back to the scene view here, and there's a few things you can adjust. Our player here is a little boxy happy guy. He's really silly. Let's get the inspector over here. So on the player, you have a player move script. You can adjust acceleration, air acceleration, rotation speed, slope limits, all that kind of stuff. You can adjust health if you want to just do, you know, one hit health kind of thing, whatever. That's fine. You guys can adjust whatever you like there. You can also disable things like double jump if you don't want them in your game. That's fine as well. Let's go here. You have these pushables are they're just physics assets, and on their rigid body, their mass is set to 2, so it's fairly heavy. That's why they can't be lifted, and they take quite a lot of mass or like force to just move around. They're also locked on the Z, so they don't fall off. So if you add any new objects and you want to recreate them without using this stuff, make sure that they're locked on the Z axis. Moving platforms are pretty simple. You see here we have a lava platform. It's just a box. It has a rigid body, a collider, and a move to point script. In here you can set the speed. So if you want to set this to 22, character probably won't be able to stand on it because it's so fast, but you'll see it'll move a lot faster. So fast it doesn't even know what to do. So you can do that. You can also set it to ping pong, play it once, loop, whatever you like. Looping, it'll like teleport back to the beginning. So that's the... maybe not. I thought that's what it would do. Anyway, so you have that in there. If you want to take any of these waypoints, they're just sub-objects of this platform here. So if you look here, lava platform, if you open up that, you have waypoint 1 and 2. So if you want to move these around and change the location, you can do that, and it'll just go between the 2 points. And I believe if you add a third one, it may or may not go between 3, I don't remember. No. Oh yeah, there you go. I don't know why it does them in that order, but sure. It goes 1, 2, 3. Yeah, not sure why it goes in that order, but it does. So, but you can add more. You just play around with them, make sure they work. All this stuff is simple. On the little pickup objects, you can actually add a health script as well. So right now, take impact damage is off, but if you put that on, we take our player here. It'll just explode the box. And right now, that's it. You get 1 box, you're screwed. But then you can put on respawn as well. So that way, when it gets destroyed, it'll respawn. There you are. So that's that. Moving on. These guys here, they're just, they also have health if they want to be destroyed. What makes them float or doesn't float? This guy's set to a mass of 4. This one's set to 0.4. That's all. It's just the mass, so changing the mass will float things around because it's physics, so it's good times. Same mover. This is just the same thing as before. Just has a move to point script. Just move from there to there. This guy here is a goal. I don't know why they called it a goal, but you have your lift, your load delay, all that kind of stuff, so you could play around with this. This is supposed to load the next level, but you guys could ignore that if you just want to use the lift. Trampoline, same thing. It just has a hazard script on there. And you can do a push force, you can do a push height, and damage is just set to 0. And it's got some tags and stuff too, so you can play around with that. And the rest of these guys are all the same. They're just boxes. These guys are just physics assets, and they're locked on certain rotations. Like, I don't want this thing rotating off, falling off the map, which happens with physics assets sometimes. So you can lock them to certain axes to make sure that they don't do that. So like, I have them to not be able to move on the X. So if we go here, so X is on this one. So I don't want him moving here. I could have him slide back and forth a little. I'm fine with that. I might want to lock that off as well. And then rotation, he's only able to rotate on the X, so he can only do this. You can't do that. You can't do this because I don't want, because if this breaks, then the player is stuck and it's a soft lock, and you won't be able to beat the game, which is no good. So that's pretty much it. That's the kind of quick overview of this. It's not overly complicated. If you just want something new, you could just, say I wanted to get another lava platform. Just select it, hit Control D to duplicate it, and then just move around your waypoints. Sometimes it won't let you select them. Alright, just move them around where you want, and you can start making some cool puzzles. On here too, you could do a delay and a speed if you want to like time them differently. The one script I don't have, which you guys can write if you want, with the exception of not making new stuff, you can do this one. If you want to have a script that turns this stuff on and off via triggers, so you could like really time your platforms, you can do that. That's fine. But I'll leave that for you guys. That'll be a little bonus thing if you like. Cool, and that's pretty much it. So yeah, good luck. Ask me if you have any questions. You're making 3 levels, not very long. This would be like a level and a bit. I wouldn't make them too crazy. Just a tutorial level. You don't need text. Actually, don't include text. Just I should be able to. Should be a visual tutorial. So introduce some of the base mechanics. Second level should introduce some new, more complicated mechanic, but not be overly hard. And the third level should be harder and allow players to combine mechanics in ways that maybe you didn't teach them, but you kind of taught them the individual things. Cool, and that's it. So thanks for listening, and anybody who actually does watch this video, if you would like, you can take this character here. He has a texture here, which is really ugly, but it's just this guy here. It's like a square, SpongeBob-y looking guy. You can repaint this texture if you want. If you want to make your own cube face on here, I will give a bonus mark to anybody who does actually repaint this guy. So it's not necessary, but if you'd like some bonus marks, you go ahead, and I won't tell the rest of the class. It'll only be in this video. So if you watch it, cool, good for you. Thanks, guys.